Hello everybody.
Next up we play host to Brentford on Monday night. Kick-off's at 8 p.m, so you may need a late pass from the other half. Brentford then. They've won 3 and lost 7 of their last 10. The wins came at home to Luton, home to Forest and away at Wolves. For the rest, they lost away at Brighton, Sheffield United, Spurs and Man City, and at home to Villa, Wolves and Liverpool. The latter game was rather interesting, as it looked for all the world as if England's best referee, copyright M. Oliver and nobody else, seemed to go out of his way to help the visitors, allowing McAllister to get away with 5, or 6 if you throw in Lord Twelve's comments on persistent foul play, yellow card offences, and ignoring attempts to punch the ball into the net, meaning that when Endo finally received a caution, he remained on the pitch. The foul in the build-up to Liverpool's equaliser, which carried on into the box, and the bizarre flattening of Toney in the box, which no honest, sane human could have said was a fair challenge, all looked highly suspicious. But there again, since PGMOL seemed to be on a challenge to see how far their members can go before anyone notices, nobody should be in the least bit surprised, as we'll find out later. Not that we should have too much sympathy for Brentford. One of those few wins came against Forest, set up by an Ivan Toney goal for a free kick, moved to give a more favourable angle. PGMOL's comment was that VAR could not get involved, which was a little bit baffling since goals and violations that precede them is the number one things on the list of things that VAR can review. All of this has left them in 15th place with 25 points from as many games, which is 5 places and 11 points behind us. Daisy tells me that 3 permanent and 1 loan arrival made the short trip from Heathrow during the window, though these seemed in general to be aimed on the youth development side of things. Yunus Emre Konak, for example, is an 18-year-old defensive midfielder who's got 3 caps for the Turkish under-21 side, and he arrived from Sivasspor for a fee of €4.5 million on a 5.5-year deal. He's yet to trouble the statistician. Slightly older, though at £2.5 million, slightly cheaper, was Icelandic keeper Hakon Valdimarsson, who arrived from Swedish club Elfsborg, having started his career with the brilliant named Icelandic outfit Grotta. He's been capped 5 times by the national side formerly known as Bijam, but again is one that they appear to be looking to bring through in, as they used to say, the fullness of time. Possibly looking at a replacement for Toney, they announced an agreement to sign Igor Thiago, a Brazilian striker from Bruges, for €38 million. The deal won't actually be completed until July, but still came as a little bit of a surprise, coming as it did following the collapse of a deal to sign Norwegian winger Antonio Nuazo from the same club, the player having failed a medical. Guess it was a case of saying, that one's broken, have you got anything else in stock? The loan signing was Uzbek winger Muhammad Ali Urinboev, who has gone into their B team from the Tashkent side Pakator. One wouldn't normally mention B team signings, but Uzbekistan and Tashkent are exotic enough, even before considering the Mickey-taking fun to be had out of that surname. One shouldn't move on without mentioning the aforementioned returning Toney. Having mentioned him, one will move on to the wild and wacky world of association football. Well, if you had any lingering naive thoughts that referees are just misunderstood and do the best they can, the final nail in that particular coffin was hammered firmly in place by Howard Webb, whose analysis of the flattening of Bowen up at Bramall Lane exposed PGMOL for the backside covering racket it really is. If you're wondering exactly how low they could go in defending its employees, just listen to Webb's verbal gymnastics in defending what was overall a 0 out of 10 performance from serial offender Michael Salisbury. Webb, of course, was previously an employee of South Yorkshire Police, so he'll be no stranger to a culture of cover-ups and corruption. His performance reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Oolong Kalufid, who was so successful in arguing that black was white, he got run over at the next zebra crossing. Seriously though, they're not even pretending anymore. Someone tries to punch the ball into the net right in front of the ref, just get good old Howard up on the box and he'll simply deny it ever happened. To the rest of the world, our officials are an unfit laughingstock. They routinely fail fitness tests, and there's even been a number of attempts at actually cheating them. FIFA have sent home our referees in the past for not being up to the job, and we've now got to the stage where refereeing influence appears to be as likely to be the deciding factor in any match as the relative merits of the sides involved. Oliver's performance in our visitors' match against Liverpool last week, fouls ignored, players committing multiple yellow card offences without punishment, pretty much ensured that the Scousers were guaranteed 3 points, whilst later on Andrew Madley ensured that Manchester City didn't get a couple of spot kicks that would definitely have been given to the home side at Anfield. There needs to be a thorough investigation of the woeful standings of officiating in this country. Proper and thorough. The game's too important to allow it to be run by people who openly lie to cover themselves. I've long been critical of the mainstream media who will pore over individual decisions to microscopic detail without ever considering the wider picture. However, I did this week spot a potential green shoot in the Sunday Times where Martin Samuel questioned PGMOL's apparent habit of progress by patronage. In particular, Samuel's critical of Stuart Atwell's continued presence amongst the so-called elite after 16, albeit interrupted, years of abject performances at the top level, pointing out that clueless Atwell, as Samuel referred to him, owed his return to the top level due to Mike Riley's backing. Before that, Atwell's mysteriously rapid rise through the ranks was attributed to his promotion by Keith Hackett, which is really not a recommendation for anything. Okay, it's not exactly Woodward and Bernstein, but hey, it's a start. Let's move on to us. Forest was another performance so devoid of confidence, it was a surprise the team actually ventured out onto the pitch. I did feel a bit sorry for Phillips, whose dismissal came from one of those challenges where you attempt to block and you end up getting penalised for being kicked by the other player. A decent referee might note that, but since there aren't any in this country, the second yellow was sadly inevitable. As I say, the confidence amongst the squad would appear to be so low the northern line's overhead. Much has been said about the lack of attacking intent amongst the squad, with many fingers pointing in the direction of the manager. However, might it not be the case that the players are so frightened at the moment that playing the ball forwards is a concept akin to handling your front doorknob a few days after having cut up Vladimir Putin at a roundabout? Time after time the ball started to move forwards only for a player to check back and play a safe ball square or backwards, probably in case a chunk of Novichok lay somewhere ahead. Whether that's management's fault or something within the players themselves, I don't think I'm qualified to say, though thousands are apparently. Where the manager must get involved is in repairing the confidence that's clearly missing. It was good to see Antonio back. For all his limitations, and I'm sure thousands of detractors will tell you what they are at great length if you have a free day or so, he did bring a bit of strength and troublemaking to the attack. Just a shame nobody gave him much to get onto after the first 15 minutes or so. On the squad front, Phillips will miss out through suspension, whilst Paquetá, though getting there, may be looking at more likely for a return at Everton or even at home to Burnley. Other than that, it's a full squad to choose from. Prediction? Well, I think getting the first goal is vital in this one. Go 1-0 up and the confidence will improve. Go 1-0 down and look for the heads to drop. Mind you, they're in similar mode given recent results. I think this will be one of those games that lives in the memory about as long as it takes Novichok to enter the nervous system. So the £2.50 I was going to send towards the fund to develop a lie detector for Howard Webb. No need, you just have to watch to see if his lips move. Will instead go on a rare prediction of a 0-0 draw when I can get down to Winston's turf accountants. Finally, before we go, if I may be a little bit self-indulgent, I'd just like to pay tribute to my late dad who passed away 2 years ago on the date of this match. I'll sing Bubbles with a bit more fervour on Monday night in your honour, mate, and if you could have a word with the boss up there just about this match, we'd all be jolly grateful. Enjoy the game.